So how many of you have ever been in an argument with your Fox News watching uncle and he said to you, you need to go check out 2,000 Mules? Or how many times has a coworker sent you the link on Facebook and said, here you go, man, here's all the proof you need? If you've talked to any forklift driver in the South, you will know that 2,000 Mules is the documentary that falsely claimed that the 2020 election was stolen, but it is the Bible to conspiracy theorists. And we've had to hear them pull from it so many times over the years. Well, now it turns out that the whole book, movie, the whole 9 yards has all been debunked and discredited to the point that the group, Salem Media Group, which put it out, has issued an apology to the man that they defamed, Mark Andrews, and said they will no longer be putting out the book or the documentary. I'm reading from CNN, but here is the apology that they issued to Mark Andrews. It was never our intent that the publication of the 2,000 Mules film and book would harm Mr. Andrews. We apologize for the hurt and the inclusion of Mr. Andrews' image in the movie, book, and promotional materials have caused Mr. Andrews and his family. We have removed the film from Salem's platforms, and there will be no future distribution of the film or book. You know, that apology is too little too late. If I was Mark Andrews, I would tell them to shove that right up their ass. Because what did they think was going to happen when they included him in the documentary? What did they think was going to happen when they made the documentary? They made the documentary and they aimed it towards people who are foaming at the mouth looking for any and every preconceived notion they can find to tell them that the 2020 election was stolen. That's the type of people that the documentary targeted. Did they think they were going to be able to include someone in the documentary and MAGA just give those people a pat on their back or be reasonable? No, they're going to harass that guy and hunt him down for the rest of his life. So I think that apology is worthless. You know, Salem Media Group also distributes to Charlie Kirk and Sebastian Gorka, more pro-Trump talking heads. So my question is Charlie Kirk and Sebastian Gorka now going to come out and say, hey, this whole documentary was bullshit? It's no longer being distributed because it was proven to be bullshit? Are they going to call it out? I mean, they're the ones that always talks about fake news. They're the ones that always says the left is spreading misinformation. Well, they've been spreading it for years now with that bogus documentary. So are they going to come out and call it out? If they truly cared about the truth and they wanted you to know the truth, they would come out, they would call it out, and they would distance themselves from it. But the saddest part of all of this is it's not going to make a difference to any of them. They will dodge the question if they get asked, and to the people who bought the documentary and bought into what it was saying, there's no way you're ever going to change their mind because they already have a scapegoat put in place. They're already going to tell you that, well, they had to admit that it was all lies because they are coming after them. They is the boogeymen that live inside of a conspiracy theorist's closet and they burst out. It's always they. Have you not? They always say they, but they can't necessarily tell you who they is exactly. And when you say who's they, they'll say, well, it's the deep state, but they really can't explain who that is either. It's so sad to watch people come to this point and get so caught up in this bullshit that they continue to spread it even after it's been debunked. Back when I was a kid, I used to love to watch pro wrestling. And I remember back when I was growing up, my mom would take me to this grocery store called Battles. It was my favorite grocery store to go to. I can still remember how it smells to this day. And I used to get those Pro Wrestling Illustrated magazines back in the day. I can still remember when they were in black and white. It was my favorite magazine. So we'd go to the grocery store, Mom would let me get a magazine, and I would sit in the bottom of the buggy as a kid, and I would sit there and read it as we're going along getting our groceries. And every time I got to the counter, every time my mom went to pay for that magazine, the cashier or the bag boy would say to me, you know this stuff's fake, right? I mean, you know this ain't real, right? And as a kid, I would say to them, yeah, I know exactly what it is. It's just entertainment, but I find it entertaining. That's the only reason I'm watching it. I always had to defend myself for watching that as a kid, to every cashier and to every bag boy that I ever encountered. But now those very same people are believing bullshit like 2,000 Mules, and when I point out to them that it's fake, they won't buy it. I knew all along what wrestling was. I mean, there were moments that made me question it. I mean, the greats like Ric Flair and Dusty Rhodes and Roddy Piper, they could make you question, was that real or not? I think that might have been real. But I always knew what wrestling was because, hey, I've never seen a bar fight where you whip a guy in and he bounces off the ropes and comes back at you. I have played so many nasty, dirty dives in my life. I've seen all kinds of hell break loose. I've never seen a guy leap into another dude's arms for a military press. So I always knew what wrestling was, but I found it entertaining. When you point out to them what this stuff really is, they're not just watching it for the entertainment. They believe it to be true. And they've got their built-in scapegoat already in place to protect it once it gets debunked. So, yeah, it's been debunked. It's been discredited. The people that put it out have come out and apologized and said, it's all bullshit. We're not going to put it out there anymore. And it ain't going to matter to people. there's still going to be people that is going to latch onto this and run with it. And I really believe that a lot of this really started with Sarah Palin. I really believe Donald Trump kind of stole her act. If Neil Young is the godfather of grunge, I really think that Sarah Palin is the godfather of MAGA, because she's one of the first that really started borrowing from people like Alex Jones. She's one of the first that really started pushing conspiracy theories into the mainstream. But the only problem was she was running alongside John McCain, and John McCain was one of the last reasonable Republicans that we had, and he would not attach himself to that kind of bullshit. So it didn't really fully catch on until Donald Trump got a hold of it. With Sarah Palin, she just quickly got turned into a great Saturday Night Live skit, and it was all made a joke. And that's what this stuff should be. Really, all this stuff should serve for is material for Saturday Night Live. That's what MAGA should be. That's what Trump should be. That's what all these conspiracy theories should be. It should just be something we all mock and ridicule with satire. That's really what it should be. But unfortunately, it's taken hold, and it poses a serious threat now to our democracy, because the likes of Donald Trump wants to entertain that kind of base. And that tells you everything you need to know about him as a candidate, as a president, as a person. The fact that he would be willing to entertain that type of people and get those type of people worked into a frenzy tells you that he's only in it for himself. He doesn't believe the bullshit he's saying, and he doesn't believe the bullshit those people are spewing. They're just doing it for him, and so he'll give them a pass for it. It's time that people wakes up and realizes that Trump's game is all rigged. When he says that everything's rigged against him, no. He's rigging everything against you. He is doing exactly what Vince McMahon did to me as a kid. He's promoting this bogus fight, this bogus reality, and you're buying into it, hook, line, and sinker. Except I never bought into it as a kid, and there's grown adults that still do.